This is We the Sales Engineers Podcast, show 251.
Welcome to We the SEs podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramzi Majaba.
What's up, SE Nation? Welcome back to another episode. I am your host, Ramzi Majaba, and another solo show today. I did a webinar for a company called Saleo a couple months ago. I think it was in December. And the topic was how do you create a flexible demo environment based on skill discovery. So the focus of the conversation was skill discovery, and I wanted to share that with you today. So if you're looking for someone to do presentations or speaking, let me know. The agenda at the time was, hey, what are the challenges of a demo, right? And what is the purpose of a discovery? And I split discovery into business and technical. You can split it into a million different things and have marketing names around them. But generally speaking, you have business discovery, technical discovery. You can have, there's a lot more things to discover. But for a presentation, generally speaking, we'll focus on those two. So let's just focus on that. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the show notes or on LinkedIn or on YouTube, wherever you consume this chat. So let's start with the first thing, which is the challenges of the demo. Now, I was a generalist SE, which means within my company, there were lots of different products that cover lots of different topics that I had to be a quote unquote expert on. And even if the company's focused on one thing, for example, let's take Palo Alto as an example. It's a security company, right? Firewalls, that sort of thing. But if you go on their website and you look at the different products, there are so many different products that they have within security. They have, I'm looking at my presentation here, they have like next-gen firewalls. So they have hardware, they have virtual, they have containers, they have cloud, and there's a lot more other stuff. They also have SASE, so Secure Access Service Edge software. So it could be SD-WAN, it could be SASE, a lot of different things. You have cloud-delivered security services. So one SE has so many options or so many things that they need to learn. And I've been on like demos where we just basically get a request from a customer for a demo, and no one does any discovery or any qualification, and they just want to see a demo of Palo Alto or whatever company you're working for. So what are you going to show? And that's the big question that people should ask themselves. Like, if I'm invited to do a demo, what am I going to show that customer? And there are so many options, even when you're talking about like a startup company where they have one product. Maybe they have one product, maybe the features are the same, then you're going to show is always the same. You don't have too many features, you have one thing to show. But the stories change, and what the customers care about change. So what are you going to show for the customers? What are you going to do to show the customers? And I'll give you an example of mine. I think I've given this example a long time ago. I had badge access to my customers, or at least I had badge access to my customers. And I was walking around and I see my salesperson and his director walking out of a meeting room. And so I walk over to them and I talk to them, and they said, "Ramzi, congratulations, you have a demo on Friday." And my response was, "What do they want to see?" And they said, "Oh, they just want to see that on virtualization." And my discovery was, and that was like first few months into the job. So they want to see the product or the virtualization. It's like, no, they want to see the virtualization, and they're looking to virtualize over ESXi. So I went and prepared my amazing demo, showed up, and the first question I asked, like, "Hey, my salesperson said that you virtualize over ESXi and you want to learn more about that. Is that still the case?" And the response was, "No, we don't do ESXi. Everything's KVM." And in case you didn't know, it's like Windows and Linux, just as an example. And that kind of messed up my entire demo. But the good thing that came out of that was, instead of having an hour-long demo, I kind of said, oh, it doesn't really matter what the underlying operating system is. This is what the end result will be. And it was a 5-minute demo. And when I walked out, I got feedback that it was the best demo they've ever seen, because it was 5 minutes. So that leads me to the purpose of a discovery. Right? So if you talk to different people, they will say you need discovery. The purpose of discovery is different, right? If you talk to Chris White, the last time I talked to him, so I don't know if he's changed his mind since then or I misunderstood, but that's what he said. I remember him saying is that the purpose of a discovery is to know what to demo. And if you talk to my friend Paul Urphy, when I asked him what's the purpose of a discovery, his response was to continuously qualify the deal. Now, I don't think there's a wrong answer, but I think you can combine a bunch of answers together. Right? So if you ask me what's the purpose of a discovery, I would say it's a combination of many things. One, you want to qualify that you can solve the problem. You can solve the problem in the timely fashion or within the timeline that the customer wants, and how much is it going to cost them, right? Because you're going to end up talking about proposals. And the reason I say in time is, if they're looking for a solution today and your solution is only available in 6 months, then you're qualifying yourself out. Salespeople tend to keep tabs on it and maybe push the customer to wait for a little bit, but 6 months can turn into a year, can turn into 2 years. So most customers understand that and would not wait. So one, to qualify the demo or to qualify the deal. There are other reasons, other purpose of a discovery is to know what to demo, as Chris White said. So not just to know what to demo, to know what stories to tell. Who is making the decisions about the actual solution? Like, who's going to buy it? Who cares? Like, which personas are you going to need to talk to in order to close the deal? And which features to put together in which order, and like basically the flow of the demo. And the last thing I would say, the purpose of the discovery is to build excitement to the demo, to build excitement for the solution, to basically do that by asking like vision building questions. Hey, how would this help you if you were to solve this X, or how would you see yourself using this product? Basically, you're trying to find out what their current state is and how their future state will be helpful for them, so that you want them to show up for the demo. A lot of customers say like, hey, yeah, sure, I want to see the demo. And then, especially if it's remote, they don't show up to the call, or they cancel, or they postpone, right? You want them to be as interested in seeing the demo as you're interested in showing the demo. And you want them to invite others, mainly decision makers. Like if you're talking to a manager who is not a decision maker, their director or their VP is, you want them to invite that director. So you can kind of figure out throughout the demo, throughout the discovery calls, like, hey, who would be interested in this? And if I develop this demo where I focus for 10 minutes for this person, 10 minutes for that person, would they be willing to show up for 10 minutes? So figuring out who there is. So there's a lot more things that you can discover, but this is the main purpose of discovery, in my opinion. And I've split it into business and technical, so let's get into the business side. Now, generally speaking, what I like to tell people is, if there is no business problem, there is no technical problem, right? If, let's say someone has a technical problem, like, hey, my GUI is a little bit complicated to use, but it's not causing them money, it's not causing them pain, like they can still do the job with that GUI that's annoying, they will continue using that GUI. There is no business problem. If that GUI that they're using keeps messing up, or makes everything slower and costs people money, then you have a business problem. Therefore, you have a technical problem. And generally speaking, the way I like to define sales engineering is the process of solving a business problem through technology, right? You're not solving a technical problem, you're solving a business problem. If there's a business problem, then you might look into the technical problem. Yeah, so we're gonna move on. And when you have a business solution, that means you have a success story. Even if it's I talk to a lot of customers or I've seen a lot of SEs come and do discoveries, and their questions are like, "Oh, how many licenses do you need, or how many ports do you need, or we have a boring technology, so we don't need to understand. We already know what the business problem is." Like, for example, for me, I'm in test and measurement. Generally speaking, if you talk to other SEs, their questions are like, "How many ports do you need? How many licenses? How much speed do you want?" Because the customer knows exactly what our product does. But not all customers know what our product does. And even if they do, why would they buy more? And why wouldn't we want to understand why they're buying? And that's something that I found out, like, people buy because, or people switch from one vendor to another, even though they're similar, because they have a problem they're trying to solve. And it's our job to understand that. And let's take Cisco, for example. They have the same solution that Nokia, that Juniper, that Arista, a lot of the similar solutions that everybody else has. So when you look at their websites, they have actually success stories. That's because the sales team found out what the business problem was. I'm looking at one specific, like, city of Newcastle. You can find it on Cisco's website. And they have customer objection, Cisco solutions, and business outcome. That's the business outcome that we're trying to find. Like, what's the problem? And the objective was to gain control over more than 200 sites in the council's vast network. And the business outcome was they want to fix and find and fix network issues faster than ever. Right? So they're running into issues. They want to be able to fix it. Right? It's a technical solution for a business problem. If they didn't have that problem, doesn't matter how amazing your product is, you won't be able to sell it. And some of the questions that I like to use when we're meeting with customers, you can use them, you don't have to, but this is what I use, especially for the business side. And I always started off like, "Hey, why did you agree to meet with us?" So when I was trying to, like, sell my services as WeDSEs to hiring managers, my first question was like, "Hey, do you always say yes to meeting random people off the internet?" Right? It's a funny question, and they laugh. It could be just curiosity that they're trying to meet, or they could have a problem that they want to share. And generally speaking, they can tell you. One of the things that I found out is like, "Hey, is when I get the answer, like, oh, my boss wanted me to meet with you. I know 100% that this guy is not going to be a champion, or this girl is not going to be a champion, and I need to find another champion, or just end the call." Right? Like, if you don't have a reason to meet with us, why would we have a reason to meet with you? So that's one question. For customers who, like, for Cisco, Palo Alto, for companies that already have a very known solution, and you want to know why they're talking to you, it's like, "Hey, what drew you to our solution? What got you interested in us versus somebody else?" Or maybe they're talking to all of you. Okay. What is it you're looking to achieve with this solution, whether it's ours or somebody else's? Who else is seeing this problem? And some of the questions that I like to ask is like, "Hey, what else?" That's not a question, but it's something to ask people to keep talking. You can repeat the last few words that they say, or just sit in silence. And there are many questions that you can ask sales engineers. Sometimes the salespeople want to ask these questions. I don't see a delineation between these are questions only salespeople can ask, other than budget. Like, what's your budget? Even that, I would say, like, SEs have the right sometimes to ask that question, because sometimes the salespeople don't ask it, and sometimes the customer is asking for $1 million worth of solutions when they only have $5K in their pocket. And and the way I like to spin the budget questions, like, "Hey, you're asking for these things. It might cost some money. I just want to make sure that you have the budget set aside for this." Or, "Hey, can you share the budget so I make sure I fit my solution within that budget or around it?" So, again, work with your account managers. Make sure you're not stepping on any toes when you're doing that. Let's jump into technical discovery. Again, we can go into way more depth. If you're interested in getting into way more depth into the discovery process and talking to different people, let me know. I'm happy to either chat about it in person or create another podcast episode for that. So let's talk about the technical discovery. I mean, generally speaking, for the technical discovery, I'm looking to find out what the current state is. Right? Like, you have a certain situation right now, and you want to get to a future situation. I need to understand what the current situation is, and this could be also from a business perspective, but a lot of times it's a technical perspective. Like, maybe they already, let's say they're talking to Checkpoint, but they already have Palo Alto. You want to know that. You want to know what it currently looks like, right? And if they're looking to move, why are they looking to move? What are the shortcomings that they're trying to overcome? What have they tried so far to solve the problem? And what happens if nothing is done? And then the reason I like the last question is a lot of times customers want some new equipment, but there isn't enough driver to actually go buy it. Like, if nothing happens, or it's just a minor annoyance if they don't do something, then they most likely will not do something, because it's always more of an annoyance to do something than it is to do nothing. And then every company has its own like technical questions that you might want to ask. Because every company has its own technology. A lot of the questions that I like to ask are differentiators and landmines. Right? Ask questions to highlight your strengths. Ask questions to highlight your competitor's weakness. Making sure you don't mention the competitor. Make sure you don't talk negatively about the competitor. Just like figure out how to ask those questions ahead of time. You can work with your marketing team, with your product management team, based on the differentiators. Some companies have like battle cards to look at the differentiators. Some companies flat out tell you like, oh, this company does that, which is bad. So how can you turn that into a question to work for you? And I've been in situations where I've seen an SE say something negative about a competitor only to be rebuked by the customer saying like, what you're saying is incorrect. They actually do what you're saying they cannot do. So just don't talk negatively about any other customers. And then continue with vision building questions, like how would the solution improve how would the situation improve once it is solved, or how do you envision your new environment? There are a lot of different things that you can ask. And generally speaking, when you're doing this discovery call, you're trying to find out like, hey, person A said they want this, person B said they want that. Who's more important? If I need to take something out of the demo, what would it be, or stuff like that? And Brian Geary, he talked to me a while back about the concept of the accordion rule. And the accordion rule states that, let's say you have an hour set up for a demo, or half hour, whatever it is. And then you have people asking you for more stuff. You need to be able to add it into your demo. You need to have that prepared. But then you need to be able to take something else out, because now you added some stuff here. You have to take some stuff out later on, without feeling rushed, without feeling that you don't care about the customer. So just use the accordion rule. This is just a brief teaser about discovery calls. Again, discovery calls can be as complicated as you like. Generally speaking, I'm in a complicated sales. I'm a complex sales. So let's just say that. And one of the things that we need to figure out, like, hey, if it's a very simple product, then doing a 15-minute discovery before a demo is enough. But you still need to figure out who's going to be the decision makers, who's going to be doing what, right? How would they buy? And generally speaking, if it's a not complicated solution, then it's a very cheap sale, generally speaking. For me, I'm selling millions of dollars worth of stuff in one deal sometimes. Like, my average deal size is around 500K. Let's just say that. And so for some people, that might sound like it's a huge number. For some people, they might laugh at me. It's like, oh, look at that baby, 500K. Right? So again, it differs from one company to another. But sometimes the goal of a discovery is just to earn another discovery call where you can discover more, because there are more people involved in the deal. There are more influencers. And in every meeting, we're just trying to earn the next meeting. We're not trying to close the deal. We're trying to close the next meeting, trying to earn the right to ask more questions. And that's done through relationship building, which can be done during the meeting by asking the right questions, by listening to the customers, by answering the customers' questions. Again, you want more information about doing a discovery, let me know. I'm happy to chat. But that's it for today. So if you did like it, make sure you subscribe, leave a review on iTunes or Google Play or wherever you listen to this podcast, or all of the places you listen to the podcast. I'd be very happy to get your feedback. And that's it. I will see you next time. So with that, I'm signing off.